My wife, in order to make her first love famous overnight, actually snatched my case. The law firm received a national sensation of a wrongful conviction case. My fiancée, in order to make her first love famous in one battle, deliberately gave me the wrong court session time when I rushed over. I was stopped outside the courtroom by the director and scolded for having no professional ethics. When I saw my fiancée accompanying her first love into the courtroom, I finally understood my fiancée's intentions. I sneered and said, "Since you want him to appear in court so much, then he'll let you have it." Colleagues advised me not to be impulsive, saying that this was an opportunity to become famous nationwide overnight and show my ability. However, no one knew that this case was extremely complex and difficult except for me, the gold medal lawyer in the firm. No one else could win this lawsuit. Moreover, my fiancée's first love was just an intern lawyer. I just hope he won't regret it. When I arrived outside the courtroom, the director directly blocked me outside. "James, do you still have any professional ethics? How could you make such a low-level mistake as being late? If you don't want to work here, just pack up and leave." Facing the director's scolding, I was completely confused before I could explain. Liz and Michael walked out side by side. If everyone didn't know that Liz was my wife, these two standing together really looked like a perfect couple. I didn't have time to think too much and hurriedly ran to Liz, asking her to prove for me that she told me the court session time was 10 o'clock, but before I could speak, Liz preempted me. "James, how could you be like this? Do you know that the defendant's family has placed all their hopes on you? And you are actually late." I couldn't believe that these were the words my wife of 3 years could say. For a moment, I was still in a daze. Liz continued, "Fortunately, I sometimes clean up your mess. Otherwise, the reputation and future of our law firm would be ruined by you." Michael, being complimented like this, quickly showed an embarrassed smile. He scratched his head and said, "Liz, don't say that. I think James didn't do it on purpose. I should thank him for giving me this opportunity. Otherwise, I would still be just an intern lawyer." "Michael, thank you very much. Without you, we wouldn't have passed the first trial smoothly." The defendant's family came out, looking very happy. They directly bumped me aside with their shoulders and kept shaking Michael's hand. Another family member also echoed, "I thought this was such a difficult case. Some people not only scare us with alarmist talk, but also boast that only they can win this lawsuit and charge us so much in legal fees. They really have the nerve." That family member also gave me a disdainful look without saying it explicitly. I also knew who that some people in his mouth was. Liz also quickly walked over and promoted Michael. Although Michael has a short working experience, he is very capable. In our law firm you can trust him. The defendant's family was suspicious. "James isn't your husband." Liz smiled, but the smile was full of contempt. "Indeed. But I can't let you be deceived by Lu Zhao and earn money that I shouldn't earn with a guilty conscience. You can rest assured that the legal fees Michael charges will definitely be lower than James. If someone questioned my professional level, I could understand that outsiders didn't know me, but being denied like this by my wife, my blood froze and my anger soared to the sky. At this moment, Liz still pretended to say to me, "I'm sorry, James, you're really too unprofessional. You were late for the court session and charged exorbitant legal fees. I can't be complicit with you." Everyone present looked at Liz with admiration, coupled with the fact that this case was already very difficult and highly concerned by the media. Many cameras had been waiting at the court entrance for a long time and happened to capture such a scene. I watched everyone leave one after another, and I was left behind. I felt like an outsider, frozen in place, as if my heart had been stabbed and there was a draft in my bones. Liz and I met when we were at the law firm. At that time, I was an intern lawyer, and Liz was an assistant. Of course, Liz is still an assistant now. However, Liz accompanied me through many of my lost and gloomy professional times after all. Just stepping into society. With little experience. I always made mistakes and was always scolded and frustrated. Liz, just like her name, was gentle, sensible, and understanding, at least in my eyes. Over time, I developed different feelings for her. Fortunately, the road to chasing Liz wasn't that long. She also knew that my job nature was very busy and I always had no time. So we got married in a hurry. Liz's parents liked me very much. And I was an orphan. So I especially relied on Liz and regarded her as my only relative for this family and for Liz. I worked even harder later. Through my efforts, I took on several representative cases. And my ability was recognized by others. I still remember that when I won my first lawsuit, Liz prepared a surprise for me. She hugged a bouquet of flowers and stuffed it into my arms. That time, no matter how bright the moonlight was, it wasn't as bright as her eyes. She said, "James, I knew you could do it, James. I really love you." That night, I clearly remember that Liz said she loved me and only me at that time. I thought, having such a virtuous wife, what more could a husband ask for? However, since Michael's appearance, everything has changed. The meals that Liz cooked by herself were no longer my exclusive privilege. And her tenderness was no longer for me. What I couldn't bear was that for this case, I stayed up for 3 nights and searched through dozens of similar case files just to find some breakthroughs. I also knew that a plea bargain was simple, but the defendant gave too many flaws. And the plaintiff's lawyer would surely win easily. The probability of the defendant winning this lawsuit was originally not high. And the only one who could win this lawsuit was me. But I didn't expect that Liz, in order to support Michael, would not hesitate to frame me. I had mixed feelings and couldn't believe that Liz would choose the latter between me and Michael. Before I could recover from the pain of being betrayed, I received a call from the director. "James, do you know how much trouble you have caused? Now the negative news that you are overcharging and have no professional ethics has spread all over the internet. Come back quickly and think about how to solve this problem. You have smeared the reputation of our law firm." The phone was hung up ruthlessly. I slumped powerless, lie on the side of the road. I underestimated the power of the media and overestimated Liz's feelings for me. The profession of a lawyer is inherently high risk. You can win, but you can't afford to lose it all. What made me even more desperate was Liz. I don't believe she didn't know that what she did would ruin my career, or maybe from the moment Liz deliberately told me the wrong court session time, she had already made up her mind to sacrifice me to fulfill Michael. When I returned to the law firm, everyone looked at me with strange eyes. Some with ridicule and some with sympathy. The director directly called me into the office. And Liz and Michael were also inside. When Liz saw me, she directly grabbed my sleeve. "James, you should quickly make a video to apologize and don't make the director angry anymore. You being late and overcharging are already very excessive, even if I am your wife. I also think it's wrong for the first time." I felt disgusted when Liz touched me. I coldly shook off Liz and looked at her as if she were a stranger. Now she pretended to care about me, but it was just to silence me. Didn't she know why I was late? And didn't they know how difficult that case was? Liz immediately reddened her eyes and tried to persuade me with kind words. "James, why are you still so stubborn? Where is the case difficult? Michael, an intern lawyer, can handle it. Aren't you as good as an intern lawyer?" Michael also echoed, although it was to persuade peace. But his words were full of denial of my professionalism and affirmation of his own credit. "James, you are wrong to say that. Do you want to shift the blame for being late onto others? Besides, you're so unprofessional. How can the client trust you and our law firm? Or do you think you are so capable now that you want to jump ship and deliberately smear our law firm?" these to sing in harmony and directly pinned the blame of jumping ship and smearing on me. Without giving up, I looked at the smug looks in Liz and Michael's eyes and couldn't help but sneer. Only those who wronged me knew how wronged I was. The director slapped the table and glared at me angrily. You should make an apology statement now and don't involve the law firm anymore. Also, you pack up your things and take a rest for a while. You give the case files to Michael. You won't participate in this case from now on. I knew why, even though such a big fuss had been made. Now the director just let me take a vacation instead of firing me. He also knew in his heart that when I first came, the law firm was just an ordinary small place and was so poor that it couldn't even pay the salaries. Since I rose to prominence, the law firm's reputation has soared and made a lot of money, and this case involved a transnational case. As long as it was successful, the status of our law firm and mine would double. My attention to this case was obvious to all. I was unconvinced, but the thing had already happened, and the video was indeed spreading on the internet. If I continued to be tough, it would only end in a lose-lose situation and would be of no benefit to my future career development. What could be more real than my wife's testimony? Even if I had 1,000 mouths, I couldn't explain it clearly. Michael walked towards me with a look in his eyes and a smile on his lips, reaching out his hand to me. Brother Lou, you have worked hard. I tightly held the defense plan that I had worked hard on day and night and tore it to shreds in front of Michael's smug face as the pieces were flying. Everyone in the room was shocked. First, Liz, who couldn't hold her temper, started scolding me. James, I didn't expect you to be such a selfish person. Why did you tear up the plan? Are you jealous of the law firm's good or Michael's good? I coldly looked at Liz and suddenly remembered that I had encountered such a thing before. It wasn't that I played tricks to snatch someone else's case file, but that my ability was completely capable of handling that case at that time. The senior lawyer failed in the first trial. The defendant was originally innocent, and the plaintiff's lawyer found the loophole in the law. The director was afraid that the law firm, which already had few cases, would completely close down because of this incident. So he called a meeting. At that time, I proposed the most perfect solution, and the director immediately gave me the case file. The senior lawyer got angry and threw the case file in my face. But what about Liz at that time? She didn't turn against the unreasonable senior lawyer for me. Sure enough, Michael's position in Liz's heart was irreplaceable. Or maybe Liz knew that I loved her, so she was fearless anyway. I found it ridiculous. I stared at Liz expressionlessly and slowly said, "Don't put such a big hat on me. I can't afford it. Michael is so capable. Let him come up with a solution himself." When this law firm judged me guilty without finding out the truth, when no one ever thought of my contributions in the past and didn't think about how to solve the problem together, but let me bear it alone, I was already dead, of course, including Liz. When she slandered me like that in front of outsiders, she was also dead in my heart. I want to see if the person Liz is determined to support is really capable. I returned to my exclusive office to pack my things. I saw Liz accompanying Michael to replace the nameplate on my office door with Michael's name, and the nameplate with my name was casually thrown on the ground. I gritted my teeth and walked out with the box in my arms. Michael seemed to have recovered from the humiliation I gave him just now. After all, compared to the case, the joy of suddenly becoming an important lawyer from an intern lawyer outweighed everything. Michael couldn't wait to show off to me. "I'm really sorry, James." The director insisted on doing this. He said that since I took such an important case, it would be inappropriate not to have an office of my own. Liz took a step forward and just stepped on my nameplate. She looked at Michael affectionately. "You're just too kind. You don't need to apologize to him. All this is what you deserve." I just took a deep look at the dirty nameplate on the ground and sneered. "Then I wish you to get what you want." After saying that, I ignored the surprised looks of the two and walked away at this moment. I made up my mind I don't need to keep a woman whose heart is not with me. As for my career, I won't let an outsider ruin it. Liz didn't come back until early in the morning. She heard the noise of the packing box when she entered the door and woke me up. I slowly got up and walked out. Liz looked around and saw that the floor was full of my packed things. She frowned impatiently and said, "What are you doing again? Isn't it just to let you give the case to Michael? I advised you nicely before to give up the case. But you were so stubborn. Now you forced me to take special measures." The special measures Liz mentioned were to find the media to smear me and deliberately give me the wrong court session time to make me late. Indeed, when I received that case, Liz did mention it to me. Since Michael came to our law firm, Liz had taken great care of him, afraid that he would be wronged. But I was never a selfish person either. I would also take care of the juniors. However, Michael graduated from a third-rate university with neither ability nor effort. I also didn't want to be blamed by the director. Besides, I had already turned a blind eye to Liz's special care for Michael. But she didn't know how to restrain herself and even became more excessive. At this moment, Liz didn't feel that she was wrong at all and continued to complain. "You also started as an intern lawyer. Whether a lawyer can succeed depends on the cases they take. With such a good opportunity, can't you be more generous and give it to others? You are now a somewhat famous lawyer. Your appetite is too big, right?" This case was specifically requested by the defendant to me. I worked so hard to live up to the client's trust. I slept 2 hours a day and read case files even when I was eating in Liz's eyes. I was such a terrible man. I smiled and quietly listened to Liz finish her complaints, then said lightly, "Liz, let's get a divorce." Liz seemed to have heard a joke. "You are crazy. I'm just thinking about my friend. Can't you tolerate her? You're really disappointing. You are not only selfish, but also narrow-minded. Fine. If you want a divorce, I'm not afraid of you. Don't come begging me to forgive you like a dog." Later, I thought I would be sad when I proposed divorce. After all, we had been married for 3 years and our relationship was not bad. But when I really proposed divorce, I only felt calm, probably because I had been disappointed for too long that I had no expectations. I calmly took out the divorce agreement, signed it, and handed it to Liz. Liz signed it neatly, but with great force, almost tearing the paper. Liz threw the pen at me and glared at me. "Let me tell you, James, don't think that just because you divorced me, you can escape responsibility tomorrow. You go and apologize to Michael. You tore up the plan today and made him have to stay up all night. If you not apologize, I won't let you go." I just found Liz's words funny. And of course, I laughed. "If I can't make you jump up, then you will never want me to plead for you back to the law firm." I looked at Liz contemptuously. I didn't want to stay in that law firm anymore. I didn't answer Liz's words, but neatly moved my things into the car. This home that used to make me feel warm now makes me feel sick. Even staying for a while, I rented a house outside and found the senior lawyer, Michael, who had fallen out with me because of the case file before. Michael resigned directly when he lost that case file. I thought we would be enemies for a lifetime. But less than half a year later, Michael came to me himself and asked me to go to another bigger and better law firm with him. Of course, Michael also apologized to me for being too stubborn. Before I remember Michael's original words, "Lu Zhao." When I walked out, I realized that there are always better people. I was really too extreme before and pushed the blame on you. Now I know that I am really not as good as you. Come and jump ship with me. A talent like you shouldn't be buried in a small law firm, even if you are excellent. The upper limit is already there. It took me a long time to realize that Michael was right, just like he didn't think he was wrong at that time. Those involved are often confused. When Michael received the meeting text message I sent him, he was still a little surprised. But he still came to the appointment without saying a word when I saw Michael again. He was more capable than before, wearing a professional suit. He looked radiant. "I really didn't expect you to come to me. I heard about your thing. How does it feel to be betrayed by your wife?" I was surprised, logically speaking. Not many people should know the truth. Even the director didn't know. Michael just watched a video and knew the truth. I smiled bitterly. "Why don't you think that the facts are just as reported?" "Impossible. You are strict with yourself and would never be late. Do you remember when you had gastroenteritis, but still insisted on appearing in court even with an IV drip? So I don't think it's your fault. And the overcharging thing is even more impossible. You would even fight lawsuits for